Thanks to the internet and technological advancements, the fashion industry is changing every day. So, in this video, I'm going to tell you why exactly the future of fashion is in Africa and how that affects you, the African fashion designer and tailor. Stay tuned to the very end of the video and don't be shy about joining in the conversation in the comments below. Hi and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kaiza and thank you for joining us. Previously, fashion has always been divided into three major categories. The first would be the designer labels and brands like Versace, Prada, Gucci, and the likes. And then the second tier were the departmental stores such as Bloomingdale's. And then the third would be the mass production for the general masses, that's you and me, what we can afford. And that would be like the TJ Maxx's and the Walmarts and the Sears. Now, I think the internet and the advent of technology has changed all that to create a little bit of disruption in the fashion industry, and I'm going to explain to you how in this video. If you've been observant in the recent years, you'll notice companies such as Fashion Nova and Forever 21 popping up and kinda taking over the fashion industry by creating affordable and stylish clothes for people. So Fashion Nova has really disrupted this industry by creating affordable replicas of major designer labels, making them affordable and available to the regular person. I would like to add that this did not come without its fair share of lawsuits from different fashion houses against Fashion Nova. You'd have to save up for months, physically walk into a store and buy it, but now with companies like Fashion Nova, this has changed and people can buy online. Now, how does that affect the fashion industry in Africa? So I don't think mass production for the African continent will work because people in Africa are very different from the rest of the world. Our sizes differ greatly, the shapes of our bodies differ greatly, and so the cookie cutter cut of a dress will not work. We as a people really relish the process of going to a tailor, getting measured and getting things tailor-made for us, for our bodies, because the Western standards of sizes, the Western aesthetic, the Western cut does not flatter the African body as much as it would the Western body. That's why the tailoring industry in Africa is still very prominent and it's still thriving. Even though there are cheaper imports and secondhand goods still in the market, people still visit their tailors because when you go to a tailor, you know you're going to get something that was made for you, specifically for you. And the future is going to be just that, because people are realizing that bodies aren't the same, we were not created the same. What might look good on you will not look good on me. And therefore, the regular size 16, even though I might be, or somebody might be the regular size 2, my size 2 isn't your size 2 because we are proportioned differently. And therefore, the fashion industry in Africa is already on the forefront with the bespoke aspect of what I think the future of fashion is going. We already have individualized experiences in our lives. Your TV watching preferences may not be the same as my TV watching preferences. And therefore, watching the regular TV isn't as popular as it was 10, 20 years ago. There's Netflix, there's Disney Plus, there's all sorts of streaming services that cater to your individual need, caters to your individual preferences. So why shouldn't we do the same for our clothing? We all need clothes, we all wear clothes. So why is it that this industry is still hell-bent on putting everybody in the same category or cookie cutting everything for the masses? That's not going to work. In the future, things will probably be bespoke. If the current situation is any indication of where we are going as a society, I think the way the African people are doing it, the way we work with our tailors and with our designers in creating things that are specific for us, is what is going to be for the rest of the world. And that is one aspect of fashion where I think Africa is ahead of everyone else. And if we as a people, and if the governments and the private sector also join in and create the foundation to make it so like there's training and education that caters to this, we will definitely raise up the fashion industry in Africa. And another thing, Africans have given the world the confidence, the guts to wear some colors, okay? We love our colors. We like bright things, bright colors, and I think that is where the trend is going. If you take a look at the celebrities' Instagrams, you would notice that there are trends that are inspired by the African continent. If you look at the major designer labels, you will notice that they are looking towards Africa for their fashion inspiration. There are a number of lawsuits going on at this moment where some African designers are suing major fashion labels. They're suing these people for stealing some of their ideas. Why is that? Because everything else has been done 10 times over, and now they're looking towards the mother continent for inspiration, which means we're at the center of creativity. Africa also has the youngest population in the world. The average age in Africa, I think, is between 17 and 24 years, which means this is where creativity and industry is going to be in the next 20, 30, 50 years. Again, I feel that we are at a special moment in history where we can change how the world looks. This is a moment in history where people in 100 years will look back and say, that's when people started wearing what they're wearing now. And that's because we have the youngest population in the world, and this is where the innovation will come from for the future generations. And already they're looking towards the continent for inspiration right now. So what does this mean for you, the designer, for you, the tailor, who wants to get into the fashion industry, who wants to get into the African fashion industry? I think you should look to the continent. Don't try to emulate what people are doing outside. Look for inspiration around you, around your neighborhood, around your city, around your country, even borrow from other countries. I think we should have a pan-African identity when it comes to fashion, as well as a localized identity that we can borrow from each other and marry from each other. As a designer, it's okay to incorporate the Western cut to your clothing, because right now we are a globalized society where the young people are looking towards the West for inspiration. You're looking at the rap videos, you're looking at the music videos, you're looking at movies, and that's okay. But I think the essence of your designs should be inspired by the African continent, and that will have longevity over the long term. And if you're a tailor, also looking at the cut, looking at the European, the American cut is okay. Marrying that with that essence, the African essence, will take you even further, because the current millennial and the generation Z or Z, depending where you're from, they are trying to come back to the continent. And we're realizing, being a millennial myself, I'm realizing that there's a lot that our continent has to offer in terms of beauty and talent, and I don't really have to wear that high-end, very expensive clothing from some European label when I can get equally as creative, equally as beautiful piece that's made just for me from a designer who is on the continent. And in the process, I would be promoting their work, I would be feeding my brother or sister, and just propagating this talented mass of people who are right now suffering and not being recognized for their creativity. I know some of these labels are aspirational. You want a Balenciaga shoe in your closet, you want some Gucci belts in your closets, and that's okay. But if you think about how long those articles of clothing will last in your closet and remain relevant, it's really not that long. I mean, after a few years, then people will look at you like, why are you wearing last year's Balenciaga? Like, come on. And here you are, you saved for like 5 months trying to get that pair of shoes. So is it really worth it? Is it really worth it trying to impress people who don't matter because you just want to be, looked at like you have money or you're trendy? But the people who actually have any money, they get things custom made. Do you think Beyonce goes to Balenciaga to buy? Probably if she's bored, but most probably they make things specifically for her. Don't try to go broke trying to impress people who don't really matter or care. Instead, buy things for the longevity and support the African fashion industry. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one next Sunday.